Howdy do! So for today's weekly Jinx video, and for those that don't know, every Wednesday on this channel we do a Jinx video about anything to do with Jinx, and you decide that topic in the comment section down below. As well as this video acting as a weekly discussion thread on the Jinx subreddit, League of Jinx, feel free to check that out. And every 2 weeks when a new patch hits or is about to hit, what we usually do is talk about our expectations for Jinx in that patch, as well as give advice to new Jinx players looking to pick up the champion in the patch, as well as talk about changes in the patch notes to either Jinx or other AD carries if there's no changes happening to Jinx. And if there's no real changes happening to other AD carries, then we kind of just talk about changes to other champions in general that might affect your games when you play as Jinx, in terms of, like, let's say the support meta might be changing, or assassins might be a thing again, so you need to ward deeper or watch out for those kinds of things. So that's what today's video is going to be, kind of why it's considered a tier list, if you will, because you as a Jinx player might then value certain bans or not banning something anymore based off of what has and hasn't changed. So with that clarity in mind, what I'm going to do first is go over some champion changes. Not all of them, because there were about 20 different champions change, but not all of them are really going to affect Jinx. One of the big major ones right off the bat though is the Aurelia rework will be hitting live, so you might see a lot of her picked or banned, because that's kind of how it works when something's reworked, depending on how powerful she is or isn't on launch. A lot of the changes were kind of also jungle heavy, changes to like Elise, Gragas, Hecarim, Ivern even, Kayn. The list kind of goes on there in terms of junglers. So speaking of earlier, what you might be getting ganked by and how they might gank you, of course Hecarim with his speed up, and like Kayn because he can go through walls. Maybe you have to change up the wards and where you position them. Maybe not, because maybe you already play against those champions enough. That's kind of already an idea of what to do and how to play against them. You already have that down, so I don't really need to talk about those too much. One of the things I will briefly mention, because I don't really understand the change, so it could be bigger than I understand, is Leona. Leona's attack reset makes attack damage pretty valuable for her, so they're shifting that back to her being a default adaptive stat. Pretty much, it's going back to being AD from AP, I believe it was, and as an adaptive stat, it probably means when you use runes that give you some sort of adaptive scaling, it's not going to be AD, and it's going to be physical. So down in lane, if she's trying to CC you to death or CC bot you or something, you might be taking a lot more physical damage from her suddenly out of nowhere, maybe depending on if you took, runes to prioritize against magic resist, or you took the magic resist boot, or whatever the heck you might have taken against Leona because she was a problem for you. Just be aware that her damage source is going to be more AD than usual. And in terms of Lux, I jokingly talk about this as the, support Lux coming back, because that's a champion you can play support, quote unquote, support, but actually try and carry with. The ultimate, her cooldown is getting refunded. First and foremost, the refund on kills going from 10, 30, and 50% to 30, 40, and 50%. But on top of that, if a target dies within 1.75 seconds of being hit by the ultimate, then the cooldown will actually be refunded as well. So in other words, if she shoots someone with the ultimate in lane at level 6, and you get tagged by it, and then you die within the next 2 seconds because maybe you got ignited as well or something, that ultimate will have a 30-second cooldown. It will be probably back up possibly by the time you get back in lane, so you're going to just want to be aware of that. Same if you're playing with a Lux support for some reason, and that's still the case too, then she's going to probably be looking for your Flame Chompers to CC targets more often and just blow them up with that combo with your Super Mega Death Rocket as well. The only actual change to another AD carry, quote-unquote, marksman, is Quinn, and that's really bug fixes. It's not probably going to put her back in the bottom lane, so that's a matchup you probably won't have to worry about all that much. Speaking of junglers, though, a major change might be to Shaco, just because he has kind of been out of control suddenly, and they are finally addressing that. They are kind of nerfing him a bit. Don't know if that will take him out of the state he is in, because I don't play enough Shaco or jungle to know that for sure, but just be aware of that. That might be a jungler that annoys a lot of people because of his stealth, how it works. He might not be as prominent anymore if he has been in your games. And then finally, I want to talk about Zed a bit, because the change pretty much is like this. When you hit people with your shuriken, they can pass through and hit targets behind them, and it's usually for reduced damage. It's going to be for a lot less reduced damage, and from what I'm understanding, I'm trying to analyze here, the change is to make Zed's wave clear better, so he can shove lane more better and roam more often. And obviously, if the enemy Zed's roaming more often, he's probably coming bottom lane to kill you. So if he has the ability now to push better with his shurikens and stuff, just be on the lookout with Zed in your games. I have seen him even in my games banned a lot more often, even before this change, so this change might just push him a little bit over the top in terms of priority. An assassin you can now play that has pushing power that's not named LeBlanc, that you can roam with and do things with. So however you feel about Zed, just be aware of that. This one might affect matchups a little bit in general, and it's just that Rage Blade is getting its cost increased. It already wasn't maybe a great first item, but Rage Blade, Jinsus is a thing, Jin with Rage Blade at the moment. But other people that build Rage Blade like Kog'Maw, Varus, and such, they now have to have 300 more gold to buy that item, so maybe their backs are going to be delayed a bit more. You might be able to get the BF sword on par with when they try and get the items in the Rage Blade now, so that might make, if the match is a little bit difficult for you, it might swing it back a little bit more in your favor, maybe not. I also want to mention Ninja Tabi, because some people have a really big problem with Ninja Tabi right now, is getting the armor reduced from 30 to 20, but the damage reduction is going up from 10% to 12%. One of the biggest problems with Ninja Tabi, of course, has been the fact that it only gives armor, but then it also reduces damage from physical attacks, so it's a lot more really than 30 armor when it comes down to it. So by reducing the armor, they're hopefully making it a good buy for tanks, but not so much as good as a buy for AD carries against assassins. So that might affect you if you played Jinx and you felt like because of the 8.2 changes, she had enough attack speed that you really never needed to actually buy the attack speed boots anymore. You might not still buy them, but maybe now if you don't like Tabi, that's an option on the table. Those are really kind of the major changes. All the other minor changes that could possibly affect Jinx there are some rune stat changes when you pick one tree into another tree. The amount of health or AD or AP you get is being changed. And on top of that, there are some minion changes that you might want to be aware about. One of the things about Jinx and her attack speed is that if you last hit a minion too early, you might have enough attack speed to hit that minion again and get the last hit anyways. Well, there are some differences now to the gold that minions give. Canyon minions, in particular, and Siege minions' health are going up, and their gold is going to be worth more as well. So it's going to be really important to last hit that cannon minion, even if you can't last hit the rest of the wave. You want the cannon minion and the super minions a lot more than you used to. Another kind of miscellaneous change is that when you have red buff, you could attack towers. The red buff will no longer burn towers anymore. They're taking that away. And then finally, there's kind of just a lot of bug fixes. So overall, in this patch, it's not like previous patches where we could talk about champion changes and matchup changes even, because there weren't really a lot of AD carry specific changes. Just kind of a bunch of miscellaneous things that kind of add up to a little bit of a longer video. But that is all for this video. I don't really see a lot changing for Jinx specifically or her matchups, because none of AD carries are really changing as well. The bottom lane will be prepared, and probably on the PvE on patch 8.8, because they do want to start opening up the bottom lane for other roles, primarily mages first, and then other roles down the road. So next time we do this video in 2 weeks, we probably will see a lot more we can talk about and discuss. I apologize that this video won't have as much depth in it as usual, because there just wasn't a lot of changes to Jinx or things that really will affect Jinx. So we can still discuss how you might theory craft some other changes to other champions, maybe affecting Jinx a bit more than I talked about in this video. But that is all for this video. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did, I don't know which video will be next, because life be full out of kinks. So until next time, take care. GG, get jinxed. Thank you for watching.